Hello everyone and welcome back to Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be taking a look at legends that deserve glory and admiration on the one hand, and commanders that deserve loathing and bitter disdain on the other. Yes, we're looking at the best and worst commanders from 2023. As always, if you like any of the cards we're going to be talking about here today, then be sure to make your purchase through any of these lovely affiliate links in the description box below. Using them doesn't cost you anything extra, but really helps the channel out a lot. You can also find our deck list for some of these decks over on TCG Home, and all prices you see here are made possible thanks to the fabulous cardmarket.com. Now, let's get started at number 5, where we have a collection of merfolk players crying out for a good Simic commander that actually presents a win con that doesn't take 17 years to set up. Kumena. Yes, it's Hakbal, the Surging Soul, a 4-mana merfolk at the beginning of combat on your turn. You get to have each of your merfolk explore, including Hakbal themselves. This way, actively fixing your draws and ensuring you never miss a land drop, and again pumping your entire team for 0 mana and 0 tapping of any creatures. Kumena. Again. Hakbal themselves also has a pretty sweet attack trigger that either ramps you or just draws you more cards. He's well costed and a solid commander, and is one of the few decks we actually still have and keep using at our LGS, and he dominates every time. If you'd like to have a look and see how we've upgraded that pre-con particularly, you can check out our video and our link to TCG Home where we have the deck list available for him. So far all good stuff. Now let's see what number 5 worst looks like.
What is he? Oh, that's...
You know what I loathe? 5 words. 5 bloody words that take a really good and strong but not game-breaking ability and then just grind it into the dirt so that no one will ever play it. Activate only as a sorcery. And whilst yes, this legendary creature is not the worst example of this effect being put on a card, but it is the one that broke my heart the most. And that is Xavier Sal. An amazing token and counter commander in Sultai with a low mana cost that could have been fun and just a little bit cheeky. Someone's attacking you, you block with a token and sacrifice to put a counter on things. Oh, the hilarity. Oh, the merriment. But no. In fact, that and a lot of other fun interactions are locked behind those 5 words, because if you want to use your commander's ability and therefore tap them down, it's going to be during your own turn. As I've said, Xavier is not the example of this, and even isn't the worst one for it, but he still makes number 5 to point out how much I loathe this trend of putting these words on an otherwise good and fine ability, just instead of making it rather unique, and instead of just nerf it into the ground so hard, it ends up coming into my worst commanders list. Meanwhile, an effect I did enjoy when it first came out, and still enjoy to this day, is Thalia and the Gitrog monster. A beefy 4/4 body with a combination of keywords that is absolutely disgusting, and effects that allow you to just grind value the entire game. Additional land drops and slowing your opponents down, and then when we get into the mid to late games, we start sacrificing things we don't need for additional card draw. Now, yes, they do not have the, quite frankly, mind-numbing combo that the Gitrog monster has, which, if you've ever been unlucky enough to play against that, you know exactly what I mean. But this legend themselves is solid, powerful, and, let's be honest here, iconic.
What is he? Oh, that's...
From one amazing card pairing that brings amazing synergies and effects that work well together to, well, the exact opposite of that in Catilda and Lier. So for me to trigger this pair's ability and get the most out of my commander, I'm going to be tapping my mana in my turn to cast my human spells, and then I'm also going to have to be tapping mana to cast these flashbacked instant or sorceries in my graveyard, and at some point during this incredibly sorcery speed turn, I'm going to be remembering that Band is meant to have interaction. Oh, Alex, you don't understand. You don't have to play it like that. It can just be banned humans and then flashback assaults to plowshares when you like. Okay, and if that is true, I'm essentially still having a useless commander most of the time. rather than maybe playing a useful leader for a human deck like Trin and Silver, Kyla, Eowyn, or, you know, Catilda herself. And that's kind of my major issue here. Thalia and the Gitrog monster is clearly Thalia and the Gitrog monster put together. This, however, is some unholy mess of two otherwise perfectly fine legends, just crammed together in such a horrific car crash of body parts that even the followers of Emrakul look at that and go, yeah, that's a bit too much. Right, I think I'm in the mood for a palate cleanser. Now, something unequivocally good. Aragorn, the Unifier. A 4-color 4/4/4 mana legend that is just a big slab of value, because no matter what you do, you're getting additional effects. Whether that be a 1/1, a +4/+4 pump to one of your guys, a scry of 2, or even just bolting one of your opponents in the face, just because. Or, you know, if you've built the deck correctly, then you're going to be having multiple of these effects trigger for each card you play. Would you like to see how we've done that? You can check out our deck list at TCG Home in the video description. But Aragorn is just a great example of a legend that can be built in a multitude of different ways and still work. Whether that be Voltron for the green +4/+4 effect, or even just the token effect he has to just swarm the board. But I would personally say you just build him like we have, with huge amounts of value with multicolored cards, giving you multiple pieces of advantage every single turn. And then, you know, just killing someone out of nowhere because you just decide to play a few elves that turn and then just, you know, turn Aragorn sideways. Honestly, I wish I could talk about him more, especially considering I know what's coming up next. But his amazingness comes from actually playing him. It's having a Dovin's Veto that gets you a 1/1 and a Scry 2. It's having a Hull Breach that bolts your opponents and gives a +4/+4 effect to one of your guys. He's great at a variety of power levels and a variety of strategies, with 4 colors being able to back you up into whatever deck strategy you most want him to be a leader for. He is just a top-notch legend.
When is he? Oh, that's.
You know what I love? Control. You know what I hate? Tapping out on my own turn. In Esper. But that is exactly what Alenda and Azor want us to do. They want us to go to combat and pay a huge amount of mana for a very bad Sphinx Revelation, which, let's be honest here, you're going to have to pay at least 2 of X to be of any value to you. And then let's go to our end step, where we've drawn 3 cards that turn, 1 for our draw step, so we can pay 4 life and make 3 1/1s with lifelink to, you know, stem the bleeding from the self-inflicted hurt that we've caused ourselves. Right, let's go through the issues top to bottom, okay? Firstly, it's 6 mana in Esper, so we're going to be relying on never missing a land drop and using an artifact ramp. We then go a little bit further down and go flying in Ward 2. Pretty good, gold star. And then yes, while we will have had 6 mana available to us because we've played the commander, we're then going to have to use the vast majority of it to get any value out of that line of text to be able to draw some cards. And then again, we're going to go to end step, pay 4 life, to get 1/1s to hopefully regain the life back that we've just used to create these 1/1s. One of Esper's great advantages as a color combination is its interaction, which we are not going to be able to use because we're tapping out in our declare attacker's step. Yeah, you could go down the token route with this card, but then I'm still paying 6 mana for my commander, and then more every turn to draw cards to hopefully make more tokens. When, you know, personally I'd rather play a much better token commander, like, let's say, Jetmir, and then just play a grand crescendo at the end of someone's turn, play my commander and win the game. You know, like you're meant to with tokens. Not sat back here tapping out on my own turn to draw cards and hoping to us and no one decides to interact with me for just the pity for playing this as my commander. Back to happy thoughts, back to happy thoughts, back to happy thoughts. On to one of my favourite colour pairings, Jeskai. And whoever designed this Jeskai legend 100% understood their assignment. And that is Narset Enlightened Exile. Do you want a low power level Jeskai Weenies deck? Then Narset is here to give them all prowess and present a win con by simply playing blue cantrips? Or do you want to play some competitive EDH and recast that intuition with Narset's attack trigger to set up multiple different lines of combo that your opponents have absolutely no hope of interacting with? Both are in fact possible with the will and the power of Narset. She is so beautifully designed and so simply designed that she can be versatile across multiple different strategies and power levels of play. I honestly can't say anything bad about her. She's literally one of the most powerful Jeskai commanders and might even go down as the most powerful Jeskai commander ever printed.
When is he? Oh, that's...
Now on to our second worst commander of the year, which reminds us very harshly that if you have a high mana cost, you better be having some huge bang for our buck, which this legend certainly does not. For 8 mana, Sauron the Lord of the Rings gives us a mill of 5, a mass of 5, which is just, making a 5/5 orc army, and then reanimating 1 creature from our graveyard on cast. Oh, and if one of your opponent's commanders dies, then the ring tempts you. As relevant as that's going to be, the first thing I feel I need to point out is that mana cost in Grixis. Craterhoof is 8 mana. Avacyn is 8 mana. Gishath is 8 mana. And you, sir, are no Gishath. It's a cast trigger specifically made to prevent us from being able to flicker it and get huge value out of the ability, because Urza forbid our hugely costed Grixis commander depicting a fictional character at the actual apex of his power is able to, do powerful things. And I don't even really see the build around here. I mean, there are way better ring-tempting commanders, and how often do you actually expect other people's commanders to die with Sauron out to see it? And this is made all the worse when you contrast this Sauron with Sauron the Dark Lord, who has probably one of the best and most brutal ward abilities in the entire game, much better consistent amass ability, much better ring-tempting ability, and has card draw slapped right on him as well. It's realistically not even a fair contest. Sauron here has been designed so you can't interact or abuse his ability as a player. Equally, he is going to probably die because he's got no evasion and no protection, and then you're spending 10 mana in Grixis to do it again. Not something I'm really up for. Yes, he does essentially come with 3 bodies, but 2 of those are just vanilla creatures, so you're really banking on that recursion being excellent. Otherwise, you just had a huge waste of mana. Which is honestly what this commander feels like. Don't play Sauron, play other Sauron. Other Sauron's great. In fact, he just missed out on the number 5 spot on the best commanders. That's only because me and Martin both really like Merfolk. The best way to bring people together is with a common enemy, a singular threat. Like a legendary creature with a ridiculous amount of keyword and a completely abusable ability. And that comes in the form of Atraxa, the Grand Unifier. Atraxa costs 7 mana and has an ETB, and therefore can be flickered for maximum amount of value. You see? That's how you do it. That right there, that's how you spend a boatload of mana in Commander. And just like her previous self, she still has that complete slew of fair and balanced keywords that make her an absolute nightmare to deal with in combat. She is also a 7/7, which means that is just 3 hits of the Atraxa beef train until someone just does a die. But even leaving aside the Atraxa beats, you've probably played some land, some artifact ramp, maybe an enchantment, maybe even been a really good player and had some interaction to slow your opponents down. And then you get to play a commander and refill your entire hand. If you're honestly ever curious as to how powerful this effect actually is, just go and pick up a commander deck and look at the top 10 cards of your library and see how many of them you just get to put to hand right away. Odds are it's quite a few of them. And being in every colour apart from red and amazing ETB that essentially draws us through our decks just gives us such insane combo potential with stuff like Displacer Kitten or any repeatable blinking effect, meaning we just go through our entire library and then, play Lab Maniac or Thassa's Oracle. Yes, folks, she's got it all. Colors, power, consistency, artwork that caters for the Quentin Tarantino fans out there. And more importantly, not a single inch of her design is wasted. She is always a deck that I've always been super tempted to make and been actively told I'm not allowed to, which, if you need a greater recommendation for a card being powerful, there isn't one. She is sleek, she is elegant, she is powerful, and she demands respect across the range and breadth of EDH power levels. And that is why Atraxa the Grand Unifier is my top pick for the best commander of 2023. But with the high must come the low, with the sweet must come the sour, with the Star Wars must come the sequel trilogy. And therefore, for every best commander, we must now move on to the worst commander.
When is he? Oh, that's...
This legendary creature didn't so much miss the mark as it turned on the audience rather than his target. A legend so many people hoped to see the return of, even in their fully completed form. And all those dreams very quickly dashed, and by dashed I mean doused in oil and then set on fire in front of their pleading eyes. Venser used to be such a cool character, and many awaited his return, even if he was completed, even just to see the character again and watch him do some lovely flickering nonsense. But no. Because instead we were greeted by a 2-mana 1/3 whose card design was so confusing even it didn't know where to go. Venser Corpse Puppet wants us to be having a proliferating style deck, which, okay, there's 40 cards to do that with, which some of them are questionable at best, but it is doable. And our reward for proliferating, hopefully that one toxic counter Venser is able to give out, is then to create a 3/3 legendary creature, so we're not gaining any ground on the board state after that. And doing it a second time allows us to give this one token, or any other artifact creature I suppose, flying and lifelink. Venser, why am I pressuring people's life totals when your entire thing is about toxic poison counters and proliferating them? The literal only thing I can think is that Venser was meant to be some sort of standard toxic deck, that you'd play him on turn 2, get him for that one little bit of toxic damage, and then just start proliferating that person up to a victory. And if that didn't work, then you at least have a 3/3 flyer to pressure a life total. But that deck never materialized. And now all we're left with is a Dimir commander that fits nowhere. The Infect deck certainly doesn't want him, the Token deck certainly doesn't want him. And honestly, how many times in an artifact Dimir colored deck did you ever proliferate to take advantage of giving something flying and lifelink? Realistically, Venser Corpse Puppet can be best summarized with one very famous line. Look how they massacred my boy. And that is the reason, along with a slew of others, that Venser Corpse Puppet is my worst commander for 2023. It also probably didn't help that we opened like 10 of them from packs. Bloody waste of a rare that was. But anyway, that'll be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Do you agree with my list? What are your favorite commanders from this year? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one of them. As always, this content is brought to you by our amazing patrons. Without you, we would not be able to continue making content like this. So thank you. As always, if you'd like to become a patron of the channel yourself and get access to exclusive EDH related rewards, then be sure to check out our link in the description box. You can also support the channel in a few of the quick and easy ways, liking this video, commenting, subscribing, and sharing it on your preferred social media platform. But that'll be it from me for now. As always, I've been Alex, and I will see you next time.